Good evening, everyone. Easton Historical Commission, May 17th, 2019.
7th.
May 7th, what did I say? Review and approval of minutes of March 26th and April 9th. Everyone was sent a copy, I believe. Motion to approve March 26th minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. April 9th, again, everybody was sent a copy. Everyone had a chance to read it, I hope. Motion to accept the minutes of April 9th.
I'll make it.
Second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Beautiful. Board member terms discussion. Well, Wayne, I don't care, you're right.
Yeah, so two board members, Mr. Hurley and alternate Mr. Bishop, their terms are expiring June 30. If you would like to renew, please get a new volunteer form to the town clerk in the next few weeks. I am happy to submit that. You can do it online, or I can submit a hard copy.
Thank you. CPC representative discussion, assuming the board stays static.
Yeah, so we should have the vote in the new fiscal year in July, at the July meeting. So this is just to tee it up for people to consider if, John wants to re-up or what have you, but that is coming. I just want to make sure we didn't forget about it.
Okay, all right, so we'll,
Yeah.
if anybody else, yeah, that's probably, anybody else wanna?
So we'll just try to remember to do this in July.
Yeah, okay. All right. Ames Local Historic District Certificate of Appropriate Application for 3 Barrow Street, Oaks Ames Memorial Hall, Stone Tower, South Facade Masonry, First Floor, Rear Window Restoration. Please introduce yourself for us, please.
Yes, Tim. Fred Ames, President, Oaks Ames Memorial Hall Association.
Thank you. This is, Ian's got the plans, it's just a continuation of work.
It's the same as online, right?
Yeah. Continuation of work on the tower, which has been a perpetual problem. The goal here is hopefully to eliminate weather coming in.
Yes, well, what we've had in the past is we did one attempt at leaks, which turned out not to be the right approach. So we've had to do it again, but this time it's a more comprehensive approach, which is going inside the tower itself and addressing the system that's used for absorbing water and shedding water. So, and it's generally a more thorough approach. So.
Yeah, I think the first one was the hope and wish, maybe, and then this one, yeah, we believe is.
Well, I think the first one, Tim, was we really weren't aware of the extent of the problem.
Right.
And this time we definitely did a lot of close looking at it and some good engineering, and we're pretty confident this will do it.
Same company that's doing it?
No, same architect, different company. Yeah.
So as always, myself and Wayne, or Wayne at least, and Fred, we'll meet with the contractor, maybe with the architect at various stages as this progresses, so that we get to look.
Yes, and it's scheduled to be finished by June 30th.
Yeah, so
Wow.
so we'll be allowed to peek inside, see what's going on. Anybody who's interested, please.
Documented too, photographic.
Yes, yeah. But anyone who's interested, you're more than welcome to go up and see what's going on.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
So,
Just
I'd love to.
just check in first.
yeah. I imagine it will be a hot-head area inside the tower. You can't just poke in there.
Yeah, so this is CPA funded work.
In part,
in
yes.
part.
Yeah.
And so as the CPA payments, as Tim was mentioning, we would review the work that it was done appropriately. And this work, the specifications for it comes largely from the comprehensive plan that Oaks Ames did several years ago and that the commission reviewed. And so these methods, materials, and approaches are consistent with that plan.
Yeah, and that plan was funded by the CPA as
Exactly
well.
so, yeah.
Acknowledge that. So,
So Fred, is it starting from scratch again, or was that, all that work that was done the first time was?
well, you know, we're coming in from the inside, and before we were working on the
Right.
outside.
That's what
So
I'm
I
saying.
think the work of cleaning the stone, doing the repointing is fine. You know, that's not
Mhm.
wasted, but the real problem occurred on the second stage, once the water got into the brownstone, then it continues through, which it will continue to do. But there is a mastic mound in there which then absorbs it and then it evaporates. And that's what had been degraded, was the interior sponge, if you will. So the outside work is fine, it looks better, it needed to be done, but it really didn't address the whole systemic problem of how is moisture dealt with.
What kind of warranty is on something like that?
I don't think there's any warranty, yeah. Not that I can ask, but I'm not aware of
I'm
any
just
warranty,
curious.
yeah.
I mean, it's not chump change, so.
I think,
Well,
it-
the contractor has done several applications
Yeah.
with this type of fix. So far, so good, credible, you know, good contractor. So we've got as good a chance as any warranty as we would with anybody.
you're dealing with water in an old stone building, so it's the bad combination to start with, so.
And for folks at home, the proposal for the tower is to inject a grout between the interior brick dome and the exterior stone roof of the tower, and then below that have as a second line of defense a internal membrane roof slash ceiling with a drain through a port out the side in case any water does come through, to keep it from getting further into the interior of the tower structure.
Yes, exactly. And this proposal is different in that it accepts the fact or acknowledges the fact that the water is gonna get in. You can't stop that. The question is, how do you get it out? So this is a much better approach to it, more realistic.
And then for the south facade of the building, it will be repointing with appropriate mortar.
Right, which we will approve
Yes.
in the field.
Oh, yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, yeah.
And then restoration of the ground floor or the first floor rear windows.
Yes, which will be great. And this is really a good project. It's sort of the last of the exterior work we've done. So with the whole building, if you will be buttoned up after this. So that's a milestone right there, so.
Great.
Yeah, with a lot of thanks to the town
Well,
Easton
certainly with thanks to the CPA.
of. Fred, we need a sign, put a CPA sign.
Do you have one?
I can get one.
Thanks. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely no problem.
All right.
We'll get right on it.
Okay.
So we
Didn't
look,
you have one there at one time?
No.
I thought you had one.
There's one at the library.
I know there's one at the library.
No, we
Um,
never, I
there
think
was an
that,
BPF sign, I believe.
There was one, once upon a time, there was a sign
I
recognizing,
thought there was one at one time.
well, there was an MHC sign,
yes,
yeah, the red sign.
which will be back also.
And I think what happened, the last project we had, the CPA sign wasn't quite in current usage or something like
It was
that,
not,
so.
it was not.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
So a motion and a second to grant a certificate of appropriateness for proposed work at 3 Barrow Street consistent with specifications and plans submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No, great.
Seeing none, all in
So,
favor?
just one-
Yes,
I should just-
no, yes.
So getting back to, this will be completely buttoned up on the outside?
That is it. When the windows are done, the mortar is going to be complete. The mortar on the back side, parking lot side, is not being redone, but it's in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, also with the lift there, we're gonna use the lift to go up and look at the roof with any roof tiles that need to be replaced. So we're taking every advantage of the equipment we have on the job.
Great.
Any further discussion? You sure?
Positive.
All in favor? Perfect. Thank you, Fred.
Great, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming in.
Ames Local Historic District Certificate of Appropriate Application for 64 Main Street, Verizon Building Exterior Transformer. We have a representative here.
Yes,
Please introduce yourself.
sure. My name is Don Ambrosio.
Okay.
I work for Nelson Architects, and I'm here on behalf of Verizon.
All right, thank you.
Consultants, yes. Brought some boards to show photos, but let me give you an overview. If these are existing conditions, it's at 64 Main Street, right downtown.
Yep.
And the building is just a little brick building that Probably, I think it was probably back to 1960 or something like that when it was first built. And every town, not sure how much you all know about Verizon doing the telephone, but generally every town has what they call a central office. So there's always a firehouse, police station, and then you'll see, in every town, you'll see a little brick building, or depending what town it is. And that's where all the telephone lines come in and go out. And basically, most of this building is an example of where it's all equipment. And the cables come in underground, you know, hopefully Jill didn't see them. They go in and they get distributed to tiny lines, and then there's computers that basically do what the old operators did, and keep the telephone service running, and also things like E911 would go through the building. If you have FiOS, things like that, it would go through the building. But because it's considered an essential service, critical facility, being that E911 goes through it, Verizon, which is partially regulated on all their buildings, has to provide a pretty impressive level of backup power generation. So they do things like they have batteries that sort of act like a UPS, and they have generators that'll kick on when power's lost so that they don't lose air conditioning, which cools this equipment, which generates heat pretty fast. And actually, it's a belt and suspenders thing where they also have a setup where if that generator failed, they would bring a portable generator and they just sort of plug the cables through. But they're kind of heavily regulated and fined. And right now, you have a generator in the building, it's in the basement. And I'm not sure if you're gonna see this okay, but on the side of the building, on the driveway, there's some, we usually call them brick dog houses, but a little 5 or 6 foot high brick enclosure with louvers on it, and that's the airflow that goes down to the basement for cooling the engine and then exhausting that warm air. And there's a generator there now. It basically it almost rarely runs hours. What they do is they're required to test it once a month for 30 minutes or something just to make sure it works. And then for the most part, it's never on unless there's an emergency like a loss of power. And then it kicks on, backs up the telephone service. And as the years are going by, these generators were mostly put in the 80s and 90s. And they're past their useful life, but also they can't support, they didn't used to put the air conditioning on them, and now they're required to. So mostly we go around, I've done hundreds of these across the whole of New England. We replace the older generators with newer ones. Generally they're a little larger, but more importantly, they strictly have to strictly comply with Mass DEP. So what we do is we go out, my team, and we hire an acoustical engineer, Centec. They take sound readings of ambient, day and night, and also the generators require a lot of airflow, so we make sure that whatever's being put in new, we actually test the old ones, we bring in the new ones, make sure they heavily comply with Mass DEP, and they have to meet all the emissions. But generally it requires louvers to make sure that this airflow passes through the generator and we can put in acoustical baffles. The good news is all that's in the basement and you really can't see it. The two things that affect the building on the outside of the project are along the driveway there's an existing, like I mentioned, a little brick enclosure. We have to basically expand it towards the back past the chimney because we need a bit more air to cool down this new generator. It's not a lot, but I'll show you a diagram of how much bigger it is. This is the front of the building, and this is the side along the driveway. This would be the existing louvered enclosure. We would have to reconstruct that because we have to have high-performance louvers. Somewhere down in the basement is the new generator with some acoustical things in it. And then on the other side of the chimney, towards the back of the building, we would basically duplicate that. It would be something that looks a little bit like this, where it's just a squatty little, it wouldn't be any deeper. We would replace, have new louvers in it, and then there'd be another one behind it. The difference I'd like to do in the design is that this one has brick on the roof of it, and that tends to be not great design for water. So even though this is outside the building, water getting in there could corrode acoustical baffles and things like that. All of that's inside of this in the basement, but I'd like to make the roof out of a EPDM membrane with and that's what the roof of the main building is. So you can see, what I'd like to do is use a membrane roof on the little doghouse and have this dark bronze trim basically, along the edge. The rest of it would be brick. We'll match the existing brick as closely as we can. The louvers would be the dark bronze louvers, just like this. The difference really would be that this would be new, but in the same place. And then an extra one, like I said, just a little further back. The second thing that affects the building, which one is Wayne? Is that you? Okay, so you know me. In order to do the project, utility company, the power utility company, National Grid has told us that they need to replace the transformer, which is currently across the, so this is Main Street. There's a pole out here, and we had talked a little bit, and initially they wanted to put it right smack dab in front of the building, and they wanted actually at a pole. And so, fortunately, I was lucky enough to get Wayne on the phone and realize that poles, in many towns this is the case, like concrete and stuff like that, that would be to be awarded. So we went back to them. It's a little bit of a process with them, but convinced them that that was going to be a deal breaker. And so what they've agreed to come up with is, instead of adding this pole that they were going to put here, they're going to take it from across the street from an existing pole where the transformer is now mounted to it, and then run underground, and then across the lawn underground. So basically, no new pole, use existing. They would have to cut the street to bring the underground, come across the lawn, we'll patch, repair the sidewalk, repair the lawn, and then we're going to put the transformer, proposing to put it here, if you're facing the building on the right side, so down here.
Right, that's right side front, correct?
That's right. And set it back, but the only limitation we have, unfortunately, is that there's some sort of an underground septic system here, which we think is relatively accurate to the site plan, which I think would limit us to really pushing this too far back. So what I would like to propose is we at very least line the front of this so it's gonna be a typical transformer that you see, anywhere. Provided by National Grid, and basically line it up with the setback, this little jog in the building here, and then put these evergreen shrubs in front of it to further screen it, something basically the same thing that we have here.
Can they be mature?
As mature as we can get in a nursery, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We usually call for a minimum of 3 feet high
Okay, good.
when they buy it, so they survive, and then we call for a maintenance of the first year they have to come out, and if it doesn't make it, they have to replace it.
So what would be the issue if you would move that to the back?
The back of the building.
Not to the back, I shouldn't say the back.
Back here?
Yeah.
Well, we have the whole driveway right here, and I think the utility company, there's a little bit, the generator's up front, and we have to get the switchgear and the generator connected to this transformer, and at some point it becomes an incredibly long run where they have to start upsizing feeders. They also want to be able to easily get out to the street, because it's not actually Verizon's transformer, I believe National Grid has to access it, and they.
So they wouldn't wanna put it down behind the second doghouse then either.
Well, this is a narrowish driveway, that's the only thing.
Right.
Verizon has to be able to get their trucks, even though it's not an occupied building, you've probably seen their trucks come in and out of there to service. There's always somebody doing something, a technician. So we wouldn't wanna block the driveway. We're gonna keep these as narrow as they are now, which is nice. We can't always do that, but in this case we can. But I know Verizon would not want to block the driveway, would allow their trucks to be able to come back here and park, and they really can't park in the driveway. But the utility company, basically, because the generator's up here, I think coming all the way back, connecting, running all the way back, at some point, the conductor sizes become an issue. And I have battled with them quite a bit to get this, but, they've decided that they're gonna encase this in concrete, because the main cables that come in the building for telephone come in here. So the solution is they're underground, we're gonna encase the conduits in concrete so they don't interfere with the telephone service. We've engineered that so it works. But the best I could do is, because of this leaching field mostly, would be get this so that it's in this territory. I thought at least if we lined it up with this little setback, that might seem reasonable if we could put the shrubs in front of it, so it's not so much of an eyesore. There's this building next door, we'd be tucked back here. And it seemed to be a reasonable compromise where you know, they'd have to work with engineering, I guess, to cut the street, patch the street properly. But it seems like that would be a better alternative than having a metal pole somewhere, which we talked about.
I'm glad you decided on that, that was a good call.
We got lucky getting him on the phone.
Yeah.
It was an incredibly constructive conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, you know, I work for Verizon, and Verizon has, you know, zero interest in making anybody mad at them. But unfortunately, I'm not even trying to badmouth National Grid, but they're like a different company.
Oh, yeah,
And so a lot of times they just come in and they say, hey,
this is what we do.
our architect, you know, you need to do this and it needs to be here or we can't get to it. And we push back. And I think we push back.
That's good.
So I'm hoping that, you know, this is a nice little strip here, I think, because there's so many nice developed shows, and like you said, we specified so that the contractor can't just stick some, you know, you can't always get them that big for the nursery,
No,
but, you know,
Well,
we
you
call
could,
for them
but-
to be, I guess you could.
We just, yeah, and it seems trivial, but we've had situations like that, and they put in these little things that are about this
Right.
Yeah.
round, it's like, come on, we,
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, I
cover that.
specify it from like, you know, nursery minimum 3 feet high, and then we have a whole detail about how to, you know, the burlap and everything about how to properly get in the ground, fertilize it, and then a 1-year thing where we know that they'll be replaced if they die, didn't make it the first year, you never know, that first winter. So architecturally, that's the way we specify it. That would actually be our contractor, so we have control of that. The rest of it is the utility company would come in and plot that pad. You know, we'd all prefer if we didn't have to do the transformer upgrade, but they're telling us, the utility company's dictating that they need to do it for this to work. And we have to upgrade the generator or else we have a problem with maintaining the building telephone service, so it's not really an option not to do the generator project, but we're trying to do the best we can to, you know, we understand the significance of this area. And I think Verizon at least tries to move it along and trim, the bushes look like they're a little trimmed, I don't know if there's some other problems going on, but a lot of times we don't even get that. So I think they recognize that it's an important part of the town.
What's the possibility that it might change once contractors get to the site?
In terms of, they might try to not go by our drawings?
Yeah, like, would there be unforeseen circumstances that might force a change? You know, depth
only
of the
thing-
existing cable, for example, can you get over it or under it with?
Well, what the engineers are telling us is that if we can encase those in concrete, like from here,
Yeah.
that we can be as shallow as like 18 inches, so there's not gonna be an issue with that. We can be, it's below the grass, but
Okay.
really there'll be a big concrete bunker and conduits passing through and then it goes back to conduit.
All right.
So it's just like this, they enter the building, there's a cable vault in the building that you don't see, but is there. And that's all the cables that come in and out from the telephone.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's an issue. The only thing I would say would be that I don't wanna take any chances on trying to get too close to this. I mean, my gut was like, well, what if we just cheated it back 10 feet and see what happens, but what we could do is find out if, you know, have him explore and find out how far back that is, but my feeling is I don't really wanna be too close where we undermine it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be able to say the bare minimum is that we stick with lining up at the front of the building, this little jog.
How do you, sort of, I don't know, ground truth where the leach field is? Do you do that when you're out there on site and you dig and it's like, well, there you go?
The contractor would come out and basically, you know, we'd lay out the site and they would be required to identify where this is, and then we would generally talk about, okay, well, it's 5 feet closer than we thought. You know, establish some parameters with a civil engineer where we don't want to be closer, just enough not to undermine it, so usually it's like 10 feet or something.
Yeah. Because it would be great if it could go even further back,
Yeah,
if feasible.
I just, I think there's a chance that we can, but I feel like I might be promising you something that could undermine something that could create other problems that I don't want. I'm comfortable with this, really comfortable with this. I wouldn't show it to you if I wasn't
Yeah.
comfortable.
Can
I'd
they
like
tuck
to
it
say,
any closer to the building, or
Hmm?
can they tuck it any closer to the building?
National Grid is telling us that it has to be a minimum distance.
Okay.
I think this is, I forget what the number is unfortunately,
That's
but there's, because transformers blow up and stuff. So, they tell us that you have to be, I think if there's a window, it has to be 10 feet, and if it's just a brick wall, non-combustible, there's some other number, and you draw it to that number.
Okay.
So yeah, I know what you're saying though, because a lot of times I try to come up with a solution like that. But-
Who oversees making sure that the plans that are approved are the final product? Is
Me.
that you?
Yeah, well, my firm is a registered architect, Nelson Architects. And this will go through normal permitting, of course. And we'll stamp the drawings and require them to do this per the plans. Again, if we run into something, we would, well, we're gonna permit, I'm assuming we have to have this piece of paper. And if it deviates from this, we would have to contact you and let you know that we have a problem.
Come back and request an amendment.
Right. So, but the contractor is not just some guy who's out there digging, he's like, Verizon has a construction manager, probably Tishman or somebody, who oversees the whole thing construction-wise, and then we have us, and we have electrical engineers who stamp the drawings and sign affidavits, and we come out and visit the site, and do field reports. So it's not kind of a haphazard thing. Verizon, because this is near these cables, this will actually be hand dug, because we can't even risk
Right.
somebody with a machine hitting those cables, because you'll take the whole town down. So it's like that, to that level where this will all be hand digging, and it will be like, Verizon gets fined by like the FCC if we lose telephone service, so it's taken very seriously. So anyway, to answer your question, it'll be a stamped set of drawings and they have to go by it. Other than that, I think we've, the only thing I'm just asking is if we don't have to do this out of brick, because I just think the brick,
Seems reasonable to me.
gets kind of on the top there, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, okay, are you?
Yep.
You're, okay, so, any questions?
No,
I've got a couple. On this little doghouse, whatever we wanna call it here, are you gonna replace that with a flat roof, do you think?
It'll have just a slight.
Yeah, so it won't be as dramatic as the pitch that's on there right now?
No, in
Okay.
fact, I don't want it to be that dramatic, because I want to get a little more louver, a little more body of brick between the louver and the top.
Okay,
So I'm hoping to actually make it a little flatter than what you're seeing here.
So
okay.
you're gonna build a little higher then, on the front, on the output side of it?
Not much,
Okay.
but enough so that it'll be less steep than this, but we're limited by the window
Yeah,
for the back. And I want to maintain the back height because the flashing will tuck up in the same, we'll keep the flashing.
so probably
Into
one
account
row
flashing
higher
detail.
or two.
So the back we want to maintain exactly. The front would, I think, just be the louver would be a little higher, and this edge would just come a little higher. But it would be, instead of being, what is that? Maybe that's 3 bricks, it'd probably be more like 2 bricks. So it'd just be maybe 3
Are
bricks.
you gonna wipe this out and replace it? Do you think?
This we would completely demolish.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, I'm thinking, why
Yeah.
would you bother, yeah, okay.
Right, and the reason partly is that, we have to sort of do attenuation in the basement, and it pops through the wall, there's motorized dampers.
Yep.
And also, I don't really know a lot about this thing, I mean, for all I know, it goes a foot below the grade, and that's not good enough. So we wanna put in new louvers that actually act on a high performance, so that these ones might get 50% free area, our new ones will get, 60-something, which makes it so I don't have to actually make these any bigger.
Gotcha.
That's nice.
You're gonna remove the footing too, or you're gonna use the existing footing? Or that'd be determined when you start?
I'm calling for the whole thing to be torn out and reconstructed at the moment. If the contractor takes this down and, I don't know, I guess it's kind of dirty too, I don't really.
I figured that would be part of
Yeah.
your cleaning process.
But I think because of the work that is related in the basement, we would end up, they gotta get the engine in and out, and there's, we're gonna write this up that the whole thing is basically demolished and reconstructed. Essentially, this part would be in the same place though.
Hmm.
I don't actually know how deep this goes, so for all I know, it's not below the frost line, I want my new wall to be, so we're not gonna have any problems with it moving. So that's okay, I think it'll look better.
So brick, we wanna see brick that matches the building.
Hmm.
So would we ask for approval?
It's not in the primary facade, and it's,
mean,
not
it's pretty-
necessarily a contributing resource.
It's pretty close though to the primary facade, it's there, it's not that far from around the corner of the building,
Right.
it's there.
I don't think we need an approval, I think maybe as long as we can initial that we approve this and then just put a little notation.
Yeah,
That we-
I
You're
don't
gonna
think it's necessary to
maintain
go to another step, but that's.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to.
And
Okay.
what I do is when I write it up, the contractor has to give me 3 brick samples to closely
I would
match
assume you'd be
this.
doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right.
That's just my thing.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay. what was the other question? Is there any chance of this thing going on the roof?
Not this size generator.
No,
And
okay.
I don't, to be honest with you, it usually would have to go on dunnage, and it would be embarrassingly, like,
All right, so yeah,
it's a
it'd be-
big, when they put it on the roof, they put one of those Pritchard Brown enclosures around it, and you would see this thing that was probably 10 feet wide by 20 feet long by 13 feet.
to cover,
wide.
yeah, to cover.
I made that mistake thinking about that before, where it's like,
What about, do you know what the dimensions of this thing is?
which one,
The generator?
The transformer.
The transformer, I'm sorry, yeah.
let's see.
Oh, I think that was where the confusion was. You asked about putting a transformer up on the roof, not the
Oh,
generator.
you asked about the kind of transformer, or are you asking about the generator? On the roof?
Generator's in the basement.
Yeah, the transformer.
Transformer on the
Oh,
roof.
I think National Grid has to be able to get at it. I don't
You
think
think
they
of
would
bucket
be able
trucks.
to, I don't think they'd be able to put it on the roof.
Bucket trucks.
Yeah, but that's bringing in a set, well, I suppose you could, but.
I don't think I've ever had them do one on the roof. I think it just.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
And ask anyhow.
It seems to me there was something else we asked once about putting it on the roof there, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but, so the dimensions of this thing, is it square, is it rectangular?
It's one of those kind that, off the top of my head, I think that it's about, like 5 foot wide, 3.5 foot deep, and the front is a little wider, like it's wider in the front and then it jogs back like a typical
All right, okay.
transformer.
I'm just wondering if we turn it so the long way is parallel with the building as opposed to stretching it out street side?
I can ask them that.
You know, it seems
Yeah.
the less, if it's 2 feet less, all the better. I think, I don't know, that's my
Yeah.
thought.
I can definitely ask them that. I guess what I would ask is if they have some reason because of, getting a truck in there and say it's leaking or whatever the situation is, that it has to be facing, most of the times I do see them facing front.
Yeah,
And I never really thought about it, but
yeah, but it
there
doesn't,
might
yeah.
be some reason about them accessing it that I don't know about. So I can ask them that, but I'm just wondering if they say to me, it doesn't allow us the proper access.
Mhm. Okay.
I guess I'm saying, they'd have to answer that question.
Yeah,
I'm happy
okay.
to ask about it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
The only other thought I have is opening the street. I don't know, when was that paved last? And it's got,
I asked Stephanie, she says more than 3 years.
all right, so they can get in there then, yeah. I guess, if that's the criteria,
I believe.
yeah. Okay. Anyone else, any questions?
No,
No?
great
Okay.
presentation, you did due diligence. I see.
So right now, we need a motion to grant a certificate of appropriateness for this application. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, so,
Did he-
to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the, proposed, louver bay and transformer installation at 64 Main Street, consistent with the plans, elevations, and specifications submitted.
Right, so we need a motion. Second,
I'll second it.
any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous.
Will we kept abreast of any changes or any concerns as it progresses along?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. I would check too.
Yes, thank you.
Can I just give it to you now?
Yeah, perfect.
When did we get ours?
Yeah, great,
Well,
Wayne.
we split, let's see, 1, 2, 3.
We're not going too far?
Town of Easton.
I
do
thought
you need
that,
the original application?
No, I do not.
In the,
Thank you. This is the application fee.
over the computer, were you doing something with the chimney at some point, Joe?
In the,
Wayne, what fee?
Application fee.
The chimney extension, painting it or doing something with the chimney, I thought I saw?
there's an existing stack,
Yes.
and then what we typically do is put the new stack in the chimney.
Yeah.
And the part that pops out, we would paint black,
Okay.
so you don't really see the little piece that
That's-
pops out.
Yeah, that's typical.
Yeah.
Would they extend the brick or would they prefer not to? I'm
Um,
sure they prefer not to, but,
Well, I think if
How-
you
how
extend
much-
it, you still have to have this, I think you still have to have the stack just come out.
Yeah,
to-
yeah, it's gotta-
just
it's gotta-
a little bit.
It's gotta,
gotta have a cap.
It's for the emissions.
it's gotta protrude beyond, it's gotta get out, so you could go 6 feet up and you're still gonna have that same, you're just gonna keep extending the chimney. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
coming down tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay. What was warrant?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. wasn't
All
ready.
right.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you, appreciate that. Next is 250 Foundry Street, Southeast Regional Vocational Tech, solar installation proposal discussion. If everybody had a chance to look at this, or if you haven't, here it is here. What we're trying to propose to move is this area here, which is the northwest corner of parking request.
So the current proposal has solar arrays as canopies or carports in 2 parking lots at the school. The northwest and I call it northeast parking lots. And the northwest parking lot, and backing up a bit, the town has a 100-foot setback requirement from property lines for solar fields. And the project proponent has requested a variance to have solar arrays within that 100-foot setback. Several neighbors directly across the street abutting the project have reached out by phone call and stopping into the office to ask the historical commission to request the Board of Appeals not grant a variance for construction within that 100-foot setback, and to encourage the project proponent to locate the solar arrays, to explore other options, other areas of the site, explore that feasibility. And the reason the historical commission is involved is folks will remember that this is the Hayward Pool area, which is the commission is currently at the beginning of a project to bring this to town meeting in May 2020 as a new local historic district. So these are historically significant houses in this area.
What are their options?
They meaning the project proponent?
Yeah.
There could be any number of options. They could put more of the solar panels that are in the northwest parking lot into the northeast parking lot. That would get within a 100-foot buffer of an off-site wetland. However, that buffer is entirely covered with a parking lot, so it's already disturbed. And the project is required to do stormwater management anyway, regardless of where the solar panels would be located.
So if you look at it, you can see the square footage in the small area in the top left. What we would hope, or propose they would do is move that over to the other area.
To explore the feasibility
Right,
of that.
right, where they're still gonna have, and as Wayne said, they're still, they're gonna run off and all this, it already exists. So we're hoping that they will consider that. So our goal here is to encourage ZBA not to grant the variance as
Yeah.
proposed, and to explore the alternatives to move this over to the other area.
And I don't know if folks looked at the other renderings of what it would look like. I printed out hard copies.
Yeah, it's pretty, if you look from proposed, the district, you'll see it's, you look out, they'd be looking right at it.
Is this is the first type of solar in town like
Oh,
this?
as far as I know it is too, yeah. There's nothing else in town with,
There are several other solar fields in town on
Really?
four.
No, but I'm saying like this is,
yeah.
Well, yeah, they're trying to,
Stonehill may have one, or maybe Bolton
like
one.
this stuff?
Oh, on a parking lot, possibly.
No, as like a covered area where you could go under it.
yeah, I think this is a unique one here. I think this is,
Is it
we have,
There may be one on Stonehill.
okay,
Oh, really?
but there's solar fields all over the place.
Oh, no, I know that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So I understand this is gonna go over here?
We would hope so.
Yeah. And so, how is this, so they're gonna be coming out over in this area,
Over
over?
by the football field or the soccer field or whatever. We're gonna be coming close to that.
Yeah, right,
Possibly.
yeah,
They would.
These are the ones that we're about.
yes.
Yes.
John, I don't know, our thing is, we don't want them in the
Yeah,
northwest
I
corner.
absolutely agree.
What they do with them,
Yeah.
how they get around it, is,
Absolutely.
What is our, you know, I mean, this is new for me, for, you know, us to have,
Boards,
this is a different,
yeah, boards and commissions are asked for comments on proposals that are relevant to the, you know, things the board and commission has oversight of. And because the historical commission has oversight of historic resources, and in this particular instance, the, in-process local historic district of the Hayward Pool area, we've been asked for comment on the project. And, residents of the potential, or in-process local historic district, have asked the historical commission to comment as well. And the comments are relevant to a request for a variance from the Board of Appeals.
If they move them over to the other side, it's was it just border the 100 foot for that portion of the district, cause the historic district, proposed historic district, still gonna be right close to that, based on what
it's,
amount of houses it had asked to,
no, it's not,
it's not,
no.
it's gonna be
no.
far enough away
Yeah,
from
when
it.
you, I'm trying to think, if you look furthest up the district,
Can't be that far, it can't be, it seems like it'd be so.
if you look, it's directly across the street,
Yeah,
I think the furthest you are is that second front door, the more or less newer entrance that they put in, you get your main entrance, and to the left you've got that one,
yeah,
and that's as far as they see. The rest of that is the rest of Morse Road, and that house down on Foundry that goes.
right, but it didn't a bunch of the people up, going up towards Five Corners asked to get in on that
Yes,
development as
yes.
well, too?
yes.
Isn't this proposed here gonna be directly across the street from that?
Could you show on the map where you're talking about, on the aerial photo? The.
What am I looking at, the
other
wrong end of it?
aerial photo.
No, no.
This is, I'm assuming this is Foundry Street.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Those are the ones across from the houses.
Right.
That is.
These
So,
aren't-
those are not.
Right.
That's where they park all, those are far enough back, so it's just these here that aren't? Those are by the field.
It's not so,
they
it's not so
just-
much, it's a visual. It's not a depth, it's not a, we don't have any overview on the, our thing is location.
And as
It's-
proposed, both parking lots, the near solar arrays would, for both of them, as proposed right now, be within the 100-foot setback requirement. So a potential request from the commission or comment from the commission would be encouraging to not grant variance for that northwest parking lot within the 100-foot setback, and to encourage the project proponent to explore other locations.
I agree.
And I'll go along with that as well.
So we want to send a note to ZBA?
Yes, we could send, I can write up the comments.
Yeah, okay. Do we need a vote on that, or are we,
I don't think it's required,
Okay.
but it could be a helpful thing.
okay. So a motion to approve Wayne creating some communication from our meeting tonight,
I'll make the motion.
okay.
And it would be specifically to encourage the, zoning board of appeals to not grant a variance for the 100-foot setback requirement in the northwest parking lot. And for the board of appeals to encourage the project proponent to, explore, locating some or all of those, solar panels, to other portions of the property.
Yes.
So we have a motion, need a second. All in favor?
Any abstentions or opposition?
Yes, no?
oh, it's the-
Abstain. So, 3 yes, 1 abstention. Okay, Hayward Pool Local Historic District, Mickey is working on our task sheet, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Unable to make it tonight, but hopefully that'll come soon.
Yeah.
First thing that have to happen is we have to establish a committee that will start to go out here and get things rolling, so.
Yeah, or just assign tasks to people.
Yeah, so we'll have a, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that, so
Yeah,
everybody,
perfect. That's
hopefully everyone will,
With due dates, and again, the goal would be to get to May 2020 town meeting, and so you're required to have, public meetings and to have the draft study report to the Massachusetts Historical Commission, so you have to backwards plan from that for your timeline.
Is everybody on board on that strip? And any-
I believe so. We do need to get together with them. In an
Of them
open,
have come to several historical commission
Yeah.
meetings and asked for this,
Before.
but part of having the public meeting would be
getting them on board,
that
yeah,
as well.
yeah. I think we had 4 in and there were
I think it
2,
was 4, and
we had 2 more positives that could not make it that they posed, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
To me, that's a big thing.
Okay. Next meeting,
June 11.
June
as I
11.
can tell.
Okay, everybody's all right, June 11th?
I don't know if I can take being away from you guys that long.
Well, we might have an application come in
Yeah, you
in a
have-
few weeks.
You have pictures. Little sidebar, John and I met with John
Wally?
Morley up at the Bank of Easton last Monday, for a little photo op. John gave us the check for supporting the historic preservation program. We also include the plaque that they received this year from us. So those photos, I assume, are maybe this week,
I don't think it'll be this week.
next.
So, yeah, I didn't get it to them in time.
All right, no, whatever, just let you know,
It'll probably be in the journal following week.
And
Yeah.
it's, his name again is John,
Morley,
Morley,
just the bank
and
of
he
Easton
is
resident,
president.
Bank of Easton,
and the main supporter of the program.
yeah. So just a little continuation of our program. God, I thought there was one other thing, but I can't think of it.
You good?
Oh, no, the Tufts Farm, we had a Tufts Farm,
Oh, yeah.
what was that called?
I would like to go to that.
A presentation and a public meeting with the Conway School of Landscape Design, who is doing a master planning project for Tufts Farm.
Right, so it was 2,
2 graduate students from
yeah,
Conway School.
okay, yeah, 2 grad students,
And
yeah.
members of the public.
It was nice, it was good, it was informative. I wanted to be there to make sure that the historic side of it was, to be recognized, not to be neglected or whatever. And there's I don't know, there was a lot of stuff thrown around, I guess. It was,
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
yeah, creating
Turnout.
parking areas, walking paths, connecting way back to the old dam, Flyaway Pond. How it would continue to function as a farm. So it was a lot of good discussion. It was good. And no, it was fact finding for them, I
Mhm.
believe, is what
Yeah.
what the deal was. So,
How many people showed up?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people who were not part of the Conservation Commission
Oh, that's great.
or staff. Yeah, so 10 members of the public.
yeah, it was a nice meeting. It was good. It was enjoyable. So, okay, I believe that is it, folks.
And the town meeting, May 20. Everyone please come.
Yeah, that's kind of a prerequisite that we show up at town meetings.
Strongly encouraged.
So, all right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Was that a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All in favor? Thank you.